Paul Jones going out against Jim Vertaroso. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about Vertaroso. This fella is something else. He's a powerlifting champion. He's out of Rome, Georgia. Wow, beautiful. Duck under, go behind, heel block, and takedown by Jones. Now, Vertaroso, as I said, a powerlifting champion out of Rome, Georgia. He was a football player, also amateur wrestler. He's turned into the pro ranks. He's got all of the power, the height, and we'll find out how many skills involved here very, very shortly. He's facing, in the red trunks, Paul Jones, a man who holds a great international reputation. So it should be a tremendous match.
Well, you know, Mr. Shorty, it's interesting because the promoters did put together a tremendous match here, and two people. You've got a strong man and your typical wrestler, a man that can take it all, is Paul Jones. But I'll tell you something that I wonder about the promotion. When I noticed that they barred Gary Hart here, and not only did they bar Gary Hart, but they award the national tag team champions to Barb Armstrong and his kid Brad Armstrong. There's just, I don't know, it's hard for me to sit back and watch all this injustice happen and still be biased and impartial, you see, Mr. Soley. But however, I'll just concentrate with Paul Jones here, and I'm not going to say too much about it, but I am going to talk with Gary Hart.
Well, we'll find out about that a little bit later on. Rod, right now it is Paul Jones. An inside bottom wrist lock into a takedown. Beautiful move by Jones. Jones has the consummate skill that it takes to become a champion. There's no question about that. He has that great combination of a very, very rugged, powerful body. He also has the capabilities of using his dukes if he has to, if it turns into a Pier 6 brawl. If anything, the only problem I can see with Jones is sometimes that temper will get the best of him, and that can get him in trouble. Go ahead.
Absolutely true, Mr. Soley. And what we have here is another classic example of you've got your powerlifting, you've got strength and brawn against your wrestler. And you notice how Paul Jones, just from the leverage he uses, you don't necessarily have to be a tremendously strong man. If you know wrestling, that is what we're doing in wrestling. And Paul Jones is one of the best wrestlers around, I must admit. And I have enough guts to admit that. But, of course, when Mr. Jones, he comes up and is belligerent, he's not in my particular category, but he is a tremendous wrestler.
All right, Vertaroso, as I said, of course, outstanding football player and amateur wrestler as well. And, all right, Bulls Jones back into those ring ropes. And Jones caught on the break. And Vertaroso now with a forearm. And now Jones firing back with a series of hard right hands that puts Vertaroso back to the canvas. Vertaroso back on his feet now, and he's moving away on that bicycle, moving away from Jones. Trying to clear those cobwebs, moves back again, keeps bicycling back. Now suddenly comes forward, boot to the midsection, another one, and Jones could be in trouble here. Vertaroso brings him up, full body slam by Vertaroso. And it is now a rear chin lock. Jones slipped away from that beautifully into a hammerlock, and now drives the knee into the biceps and triceps of Vertaroso. So Jones, realizing that he's got a problem with Mr. Vertaroso on that left hand, he felt the impact of that earlier. Now attacking that point of attack and balance, and has Vertaroso in trouble.
Very good, Mr. Solon. You see, Jones is smart enough. He knows. We were talking about this example just a little earlier with Leroy Brown. What the guy should have done, if the guy's a little stronger than you, wear him down first. Get him tired first before you start working on him. That's just what Jones did. You see, he's applying my philosophy, which is correct, and he's smart enough to do it. Another thing, Jones took some tremendous blows to the midsection there and still did not phase him. It shows you the terrific condition. Nice counter. Oh, couldn't do it, though. Tried to sit down, preventing you from lifting him up, but still Jones' power. He's a powerful man himself, still had the capabilities of lifting him up right to the hold, and he's punishing him and wearing him down.
He is indeed. That forearm now across the side of the neck. Now rear chin lock brings Vertaroso back to the canvas once again, and so Jones now trying to dominate the situation. His experience, his capabilities beginning to show through as Vertaroso uses the ring ropes to force the break. And Jones, good clean break. Vertaroso back on his feet, circles his man, back on his bicycle. And Vertaroso might feel at this point in time maybe that he had cheap shot on the break and a series of forearms on Paul Jones.
Very good. You see that? Now, Vertaroso tried to do that earlier in Stomper. He tried to sit down where Jones was able to accomplish it because of his position in the turnbuckle, because he could get the turnbuckle on his back. That's a smart wrestler, knowing where you are in the ring. You amateurs will realize that. The coach yelling, look where you are. Jones knows where he is.
And it is Jones catching him once again. Jones now moves in, and he may be going for the Indian deathlock. Yes, he's over on that one side, and that's it. Vertaroso is going to have to concede, no question about it.
He can get to the rope. Oh, no.
Once Paul Jones gets that Indian deathlock on you, unless you are, as Piper said, near those ropes, it is all over. And so quite a victory indeed for Paul Jones off of Jim Vertaroso. We may be able to see that once again. All right, watch now. Jones, using a shoulder block very effectively, got Vertaroso right near the waistline. Now watch him as he moves in again. This time drives that shoulder and catches him just above the hip. Now, as Vertaroso is stunned, it's Jones moving in with his back to his opponent, counting on the fact that he has stunned him. Now, very quickly, floats over, has that Indian deathlock in proper position, clamps down on it, and it is absolutely all over.